Hi, my name is Chester Johnson. I'm the co-founder of the Stock Boss Up app and StockTeamUp.com. And today I am fortunate enough to have Kenneth Allen on today. Kenneth Allen just recently won a seat on the school board of Indianapolis, and he is very passionate about financial literacy, as am I. And I really want to just hear his thoughts about financial literacy in schools and what he thinks we need to do as a country to really promote more of it. So, Kenneth, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and pleasure to be with my friend, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. This is something I love to talk about.
Awesome. So, I know you, obviously, but please give us a brief description of why you're so passionate about financial literacy based on your life and your experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes back to my upbringing in Gary, Indiana. I'm a product of a single parent household. My mother was a public school educator for over 36 years in the Gary public schools. And oftentimes she couldn't afford to get the things that we wanted or needed as children. And so I began early on to be very creative and innovative on trying to identify ways I could help my mother and be supportive and also get the things that I wanted and needed and also be legal. And so I began to think about very creative ways. Wanted to cut grass, but we didn't have a lawnmower, so that idea went out the window. But I really enjoyed candy. I always did very well on candy sales that we were allowed to do in the school system. And so I said, let me try my hand at candy. And I asked for an advance on my allowance. My mother gave it to me. I took that money because I didn't know about Keystone and the wholesale at that time. Just simply went to the dollar store, bought $10 worth of candy, then earned $20, and I did that a couple of more times, and I was like, "Hey, this is actually pretty lucrative." And so I convinced my grandfather to open up a candy store in his garage at 12 years old. He wasn't utilizing his garage; he didn't have a car at the time, and of course, as most grandparents do, he was extremely supportive. He allowed me to open up my candy store rent free in his garage, so I had very little overhead. And I did not know that I was essentially an entrepreneur at that time. I wasn't trying to be a CEO or a CFO. I was just really trying to help my mom out with some of the expenses. But what I became, and most people are not familiar with it, is the term OOO. I was the only operating officer. So I took out the trash, I did customer service, inventory, stock. But all those skills prepared me for a brighter future. And these are still some skills and abilities that I still find useful even today. And so I think for me, it was a game changer learning entrepreneurship and financial literacy. Fast forward to when I was 15, I got the opportunity to become a certified youth entrepreneurship instructor. And at that time became the youngest certified entrepreneurship instructor in the country by Kids Way. And that allowed me the opportunity to go share my knowledge, my experience, and how I actually owned a store as a teenager all across the country. And it really developed a passion because I've really seen how appropriate financial literacy and entrepreneurship can really be a trajectory for young people. I'm a firm believer that, when children graduate from high school, whether they attended public school or private school or homeschool, they should be prepared to enroll and enlist in the military if they so choose to. They should be prepared to enroll or enlist in a 2-year or 4-year institution. They should be able to get a job with a livable wage. But if they also want to start their own business, they should have those same skills and ability as well after they've graduated from college. And so that's one of the things that's really made me so passionate. I know the opportunities that it's afforded me, and I know how it literally can change the trajectory for some of our families, particularly in our urban neighborhoods where poverty exists.
That's great. So, you and I, we're trying to figure out ways to get financial literacy into the schools, into the youth, however we can.
Hmm.
Uh, in terms of topics, if you could just name maybe just one, maybe three is maybe too many, but if you could just name one topic from financial literacy you really want students to learn in high school before they went out into the world, what would that topic be?
Yeah, I think that's a very hard question because financial literacy and entrepreneurship is so big. But I think for a lot of our um, young people, what I often hear when I'm fortunate enough to go speak to a school or participate via Zoom is they want to know how a fraction, how is multiplication, how is this going to make me some money? And so I think that, while money making is a great skill, and I definitely want to teach children the importance of money making, I think the other thing that is critically important, now that you have money, what do you do with the money? And so I think that budgeting is very important. So if it's one thing that I would want to teach and make sure that our young people know is budget, because now we have young people that are making just as much money as their teachers in some cases with coding, with being songwriters, being artists, being influencers on the internet. And so, but often what they're not taught how to do is how to handle that success. And I think budgeting allows them the ability to handle that success appropriately and maintain that success, because we all know that you can get a whole bunch of money in, that doesn't mean that you're going to keep it. How do you invest that money? How do you make that money work for you? And I think you can do that by teaching appropriate budgeting.
So I just want to note, you want to learn multiplication because you want to multiply your money, but you really want to learn about exponentials because you want to exponentially grow your money. So if any students in their sophomore or junior year, please learn exponential. It'll help you
Abs-
also.
Absolutely.
So what initiatives are you looking for in 2021 to really help, get this idea of budgeting, getting these students to hold on to their money and invest it in different ways? What's the action that you're looking for in 2021?
Yeah, so we are in a very difficult time in our country, particularly in the education landscape. So much has changed drastically within the last year. Nobody knew a year ago that we would be where we are, particularly in the educational landscape. So I think the priority number one for me, particularly being a new person that's elected to office and particularly elected to a school board, is we have to first make sure that our children, particularly our children of color, because that's the majority of the students that we serve, are not falling further behind as a result of the pandemic. So we need to make sure that they are understanding their basic reading, writing, arithmetic. And then I think once we have a good handle to make sure that they don't fall further behind because of the pandemic, then we need to be able to prepare them for a post-pandemic life. What does life look like after high school if they don't want to go to the military? What does high school look like for them after if they are not prepared or want to enroll into the military? And so I think that teaching them some of the basic principles, not just even starting in middle school or high school, which currently a lot of districts do, but beginning that conversation about entrepreneurship and financial literacy as early as kindergarten, and in some cases even earlier when permissible. Because I think that this is something that's an ever evolving science. It's something that there are phases of it that change every day. But I think once you get the basics of it, I tell people all the time, entrepreneurship really does start in elementary school. I'll trade you my chocolate milk for your cookie. That's borrowing. That's a component of entrepreneurship. But understanding it to make it palatable so that our young people can understand it and understand that it's a tool that they can utilize to make money on the side and potential income, I think really is a game changer.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Kenneth, thank you so much for joining me today on this interview. I really appreciate it. And like I always tell you, if you ever need me to come down and help with any topics on investing, you just grab me. I'll come down to Indianapolis anytime for
Abs-
you.
Absolutely. I'm going to hold you to that, particularly in my new role. I know they're always looking for speakers in a post-COVID world.
I'd be honored. Kenneth Allen, he's a new board member on the Indianapolis School Boards. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity and appreciate all the work that you're doing to try to get our young people interested and engaged in financial literacy.
Thank you.
Tell, I'm wearing a Stop Human Trafficking shirt. Today is the National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. So we are definitely trying to raise awareness about that.
Nice to add to the end just to promote that. I can only see
Absolutely.
Stop Humans. I don't know. I actually didn't know what it was. So
There we go.
yeah, there we go. Yeah. I'll throw that. I'll throw that at the end also. That'd be good. And